We're bringing Broadway to you each and every week right here on The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and I'm so glad you're joining us. Tony winner Jonathan Groff is on Broadway playing the legendary Bobby Darin in the new musical, Just in Time. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
We're on the 9th floor of the Brill Building in this beautiful corner office. This is actually the office of John Gore, who is the chairman and CEO of John Gore Organization and owner of Broadway.com and The Broadway Show. This was once the office of Bobby Darin.
Whoa.
According to my sources, maybe 1963. I think he started TM Music, like a music company.
Yes.
And that's the year he got an Oscar nomination.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was probably like a real height of his career moment, like overlooking Times Square.
He's with Sandra Dee at that time.
Yeah, I'm
as
sure
well.
she was in here. And we're just, a block from Circle and Square Theater.
Wow.
Where you're playing Bobby Darin every night. This is a real New Yorker, this guy. What's it like walking, the steps of a man like that?
I know, it's interesting because Bobby Darin was this playboy crooner.
Yeah.
I'm, from Amish country, Pennsylvania. Like, in some ways, we couldn't be more opposite. And yet, from 7 years ago, when I started singing his music at the 92nd Street Y and this thing, I felt this kind of primal connection to him as a performer. And I think that what I connect to him most is this kind of passion and love for the audience and the need to perform. And then his music, I am fascinated. I mean, he came onto the scene with Splish Splash, which is kind of like a late 50s pop tune. And then he took a left turn and went kind of like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis were the decade before him.
Yeah.
So after getting that pop hit, he then went into standards with his album.
But then many left turns. His career went down so many paths.
Yes, and then it was by the time it was the late 60s, early 70s, he was into the whole folk scene.
Yeah.
And so I also really connected with his ambition of finding a connection to all of those different places musically. He really did it all.
Someday, I don't know how, I hope she'll hear my plea. Some way, I don't know how, she'll bring her love to me.
His life story is, wow. He died so young, 37.
Yeah.
It's very easy to look at the story in kind of sad terms. I don't know if that's what we're getting in your Broadway musical. What is it like digging into the story, and how do you look at his story?
When we start the show at Circle in the Square, people are coming into a kind of immersive nightclub environment. Mm-hmm. When we start the show, I'm beginning as myself in 2025 with this audience right now in this theater. As we were developing the show, that felt like kind of the most essential way to start the piece because of his kind of superpower of being in the present moment. I think part of his ability as a performer to be so extremely present was because of kind of the most essential piece of his life story, which is he was born with a weak heart.
Yeah.
When he was 8 years old, he got rheumatic fever, had several bouts with that, and then overheard the doctor tell his mom he wouldn't make it past the age of 16. From 16 to 37, in his mind and in his heart, he was living on borrowed time. And so he had this ambition to make it as fast as he possibly could and to do as much as he possibly could before the clock ran out. And it was constantly at the front of his brain. Had essentially a kind of nervous breakdown in the middle of his 30s and got rid of everything in his life and got a trailer and moved to Big Sur and had a kind of truly spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. There's almost too much to even fit into one evening. There's so much happening in his life story, but we try to address all the essential beats.
I said a dream lover, so I don't have to dream alone.
But we're really telling a story of joy, and it's a concert and it's a celebration.
Exactly. I find it inspiring. What I hope and what I feel when I am inside of the material is this deep, profound passion for life. Even to feel I'm taking drum lessons, I'm taking piano lessons, and to feel those like pathways in the brain grow and to feel that kind of expansion is so thrilling and makes me feel alive and makes me feel grateful to be alive.
Your wish has been granted. Aladdin is pure Broadway magic at the New Amsterdam Theater, now for more than a decade. All right, well, let's just jump in and talk about your long love affair with Princess Jasmine.
Oh, yeah. I love her. She's a part of me. And I think when you grow up, I'm a mixed race kid. I'm half Indian, half white. You look for role models as a kid, and she was always one of them. You know, she's so many things. You see yourself visually represented, but also she's tough and smart and courageous, and she goes after what she believes in despite what everyone says around her. So I think she's an awesome role model for kids, and I love to be able to do that in a reimagined Broadway version of that every day.
Does it still feel emotional to play the role each night?
Yeah. You know, I think that you relax into it after a while, and so there's moments that like surprise me. And I hear a phrase in a new way, or like I'm watching other people and noticing something for the first time in that moment. And I think that makes me emotional, totally. Every day, there's a little kid in that audience whose life has changed forever. You know, people are like, why do you think Aladdin's been so successful? And I think it's because we are so rooted in joy. Everyone is so happy by the end of the show, and that can be cathartic and healing, and there's so much not joy going on in the world, and so I think that it's a beautiful thing to return to that and to choose joy every day.
And what's remarkable is being in the show now as an adult, but you've played this role before, right? What's the difference between those two? I feel like there's a little difference.
Production value might have been a little different.
Aside from that.
No, I actually, it was funny, a friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in years sent me clips from that production. I played Jasmine and Aladdin Jr. when I was 12. And it's funny because there's parts of it that I'm like, I actually recognize myself in that little kid with braces. And we obviously didn't have like a real flying carpet and all that stuff. But yeah, it's like, it's the same heart and like the little kid in me I bring on stage with me every day too.
What did your family think when you got this role a year ago?
I think that like the honor and the pride they felt was the most emotional part of the journey for me. And you know, they've like seen me be an actor auditioning for years, and they've known I've wanted this my whole life. So I think to be there on my Broadway debut night, and I come out on a cart in my first scene, and I can see the audience, and I immediately spotted my parents, even though they were wearing masks, and I was like, okay, I can't look there for the rest of the night, because I could just see them like crying, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Now, I know you do so many shows a week to get up to 500. What do you do outside of it? Do you have a routine outside of it, or something you do to enjoy yourself, relax, find balance?
Yeah, I go to the gym. It's like a mental game more than anything else. I have kittens. I spend time with them. A resolution I have for myself. I'm not even really that big on resolutions, but I want to volunteer once a month. I did work at the Bowery Mission this month, which was really great. Working with people who don't have access to a good meal every day. And they do awesome stuff there too. They do like art therapy there, and it was great to be there and learn more about what they do. Yeah, because I feel like even though I get to perform for a big audience every single night, what we do is insular, and our community it's in many ways, as much as it's for everyone, it can be very ego-driven, and I think it's good to get outside of my own head and outside of my own life and think about the things that really matter to me outside of being a performer.
Where does that come from? Your parents?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, my parents are like activists in the world, I would say. My dad works in like the climate change field. My mom's a singer actually, and does a lot of work with kids. But it's always been something that I've just been drawn to as a kid. Like I would find causes that I cared about and like just immerse myself in them as a kid. And in college, actually, I found myself in a low place, and I had this epiphany that I just needed to give back and stop thinking about myself so much. And I went to the Philippines and I did this disaster relief program where we like restructured and rebuilt community centers and built homes there, and it was like the best thing I've ever done in my life. So if I can go back to that at least once a month. It's good for me, it's good for the world, and hopefully I encourage other people to do the same.
It's good to be king. The Lion King, one of Broadway's hottest tickets for nearly 3 decades. Here's an exclusive musical performance from the Broadway.com studio.
Where has the starlight gone? Dark is the day. How can I find my way home? Home is an empty dream, lost to the night. Father, I feel so alone. You promised you'd be there whenever I needed you. Whenever I call your name, you're not anywhere. I'm trying to hold on, just waiting to hear your voice. One word, just a word will do to end this nightmare. When will the dawning break? Oh, endless night, sleepless, I dream of the day when you were by my side, guiding my path. Father, I can't find the way.
F. Scott Fitzgerald's classic The Great Gatsby was released 100 years ago, but the jazz age is still alive and well on Broadway. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thanks, Tamsin. Tony-winning costume designer Linda Cho has designed 3 shows on Broadway this season: Harmony, Doubt, and now The Great Gatsby. We're here at the Broadway Theater to see her lush designs for the new musical set in the Roaring '20s. When people think of the 1920s, I think that most people think of a flapper, and they think of a very specific silhouette.
Yes.
Were you adhering to that?
We have some of those. We have definitely the fringe skirts. Some of the things about the 20s that we think about the classic silhouette is the slim hips with the flat chest, and humans are not all built with those proportions. So just celebrating everyone's shape and saying, you know what, I know in the 20s we did the drop waist and that particular silhouette, but let's cheat. Let's give everyone a snatch waist, and let's make sure that everyone can do a big kick so that we can accommodate this amazing choreography as well. So we do all these cheats. I call it cheater 20s. Like we're doing 20s, but we're cheating in every way that I feel is necessary.
Tell me how you had your costumes integrate with the choreography and with the direction.
So seeing, for instance, there's a number called Shady, and they're dancing in trench coats. And to accommodate this idea with the swinging coats, I was thinking of bats, quite frankly. Sometimes I use flowers or animals or jewels or whatever as sources of inspiration. And so each of those trench coats are able to spread in complete circle and
like
move,
a wingspan.
so that was all inspired by Dom's choreography. In New Money, that is the most blown out, extravagant scene of our musical. What I wanted visually was height and giant sleeves, long trains like you see here, but that is not possible with the kind of choreography that you'll see on stage. So I was like, can we have a costume parade? Can they walk in and have a moment where they have everything that they can't dance in, and then they'll run off stage, take it all off, and then come back in something they're able to dance in. So that's another way that we work with the choreographer in terms of movement.
Tell me about your process From your inspiration to the actual built costumes.
I start with as much research as I can gather about the period. I also get all the images that the set designer is looking at in his process as well. And so I can integrate that. For instance, you'll see in La Vida, there's a backdrop that has these deco arches, and I use that in one of the headpieces so that that motif is repeated and she belongs to the space. So after looking at all the research and gathering all the images, just flooding myself with as much imagery as I can, I put pencil to paper and just draw the silhouette. Then they're photocopied and shrunken down so that I'm painting sketches that are about this big, sort of necessary for a show with 350 costumes plus.
And you paint them yourself,
and I
watercolor?
paint them myself, yep. And then that's given to my team. All of that information is delivered through the sketches.
I think it's what makes Broadway so special is that it's so handmade.
Absolutely, yeah. And the people the makers that are involved, they're the next level. I might draw a scribble in terms of like how I want this headpiece made, but it's the hat maker then, the milliner, who will like come in with their skill and their artistry and say, oh, that scribble, what if it was this jewel with this golden framework? And then that is the level of artistry that takes it to the next level.
Broadway is still rumbling with the Tony Award-winning Best Musical, The Outsiders. So let's head out to the theater for a backstage tour.
Hi, my name is Jason Schmidt. I play Soda Pop Curtis in The Outsiders on Broadway, and you're watching the freaking Broadway show, and this is my freaking Broadway show. The first stop on our tour of the backstage area is the stage management office, where the things really happen. This is where I found out I was allergic to peanut butter, fun fact. Was eating these things for months, and then went to the doctor and they were like, you should probably stop eating peanut butter because your body can't process it. And now for some questions. Emily, while I'm on stage doing who knows freaking what during this show, what are you doing back here or over on the side of the stage?
Well, Mark, who's the other stage manager who is not pictured, who's not like being on camera, he and I typically trade off who is calling the show, which means any sort of like light cues or some sound cues. And otherwise, I'm running around, making sure that people are where they need to be when they need to be.
Beverly, what are you doing while they're calling the show?
Sometimes I call the show. When I don't call the show, I am in the office, so I'm watching the show and taking notes. If I am in the office, which is a lot, I am dealing, there's a lot of paperwork that goes on with being a stage manager. There's a lot of communication that goes on with being a stage manager. There's a lot of being a mom for me, that goes on with being a stage manager, so I do all those things.
Welcome. This is the pit, the orchestra pit. And this is where Freddie and Mark live. They live here and they sleep here. I'm gonna let Freddie take control of this microphone as he takes you through what is the orchestra pit.
Okay, Mark and I will show you. This is our Joy Corner. This is where Mark and I sit, actually. Behind this wall, though, this really cool wall full of pictures.
Did you take those?
Yeah, I took all these pictures. You're in a ton of them, actually. We have a real piano in this pit, which is pretty rare for a Broadway musical.
This is where Jamie, our drummer, is housed. This is where he plays all of his drums and cymbals and scrapes and what we call screes. And we got Mohan over here repping Alex on bass.
Welcome to my dressing room. We got a lot of different things in our dressing room. Me and Daryl. This is me and Daryl. And this is me and Daryl. And this is me and Daryl. And that's me and Daryl. This is my roommate, Daryl.
Hi, I'm Daryl.
And this is our room. I said it was my room earlier, and then I was like, and Daryl's room. Get it back in here, bro. Daryl, is there anything you would like to show in our dressing room?
My favorite one, and I'm sorry to everybody else who's giving me a gift, but this one goes crazy. But this photo right here, it's literally what I do in the show. And they did such a good job on the artwork and everything. But yeah, I mean, I love rooming with this boy right here.
So now we gotta go get ready for a show.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming with me on this journey.
Go Broadway.
Go Broadway.
That's going to do it for us, but until next time, check out The Broadway Show Uncut, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.